Welcome to Smoky Mountain Sports. I'm Daniel Sparkman along with Brian Hamilton, who ventured out this past Saturday to college game day on the UT campus. A big day, a big crowd out there, Brian.
Oh, yeah, it was crazy. I went in, managed to get up almost to the front, and it was, just UT fans were ecstatic. The college game day was back in town. I can't remember the last time that they were here, but I imagine it was probably the 2016 season when they got off to a 5-0 start before losing to Texas A&M in overtime and then getting beat by Bama. But they made it to number 9 that year, and we'll have to see where they land this week. They were number 11 against Florida, so Florida was number 20. So the crowd was really, really pumped. And let's cut, Daniel, to a few clips of college game day here.
That's why all the folks on Rocky Top get their corn from a jar.
Let's go, Tennessee!
Rocky Top will always be all we wrong to be.
Louder!
Good old Rocky Top. Rocky Top, Tennessee. Rocky Top, Tennessee.
Edge pressure. They looked great. But now we find out against Maryland who can score 40 points a game, Tagovailoa, NFL wide receivers, Locks knows how to draw plays. It's going to be a fun game to watch. That high-powered offense against this new Michigan defense this year.
Michigan 13-4 against the spread the last 17.
And you were right, game day, the last time they were there in Knoxville was the last time that Tennessee beat Florida, and that was in 2016. So, maybe it's a blessing to have game day in town.
Game day needs to keep coming. You had Bianca Belair, a former UT track star and SmackDown Women's Champion, as the guest picker. The place really erupted. Of course, she picked UT. And to no one's surprise, somebody else picked UT and had the hound dog out there with him.
Smoky! Come on, here.
And also, some other entertainment you had surrounding the game was former Vol and current Pittsburgh Steeler Cam Sutton was on hand to take photos and to chat with fans. And also, former Wake Forest wide receiver and Bachelor star of The Bachelor, Matt James, was on hand. So there was a lot going on Saturday. You had some people playing, you could bowl with the football. If you knocked them down, you got a prize. That was neat as well. So just all kinds of different games for the fans to enjoy. So it was a really incredible, eclectic experience out there Saturday.
Just a great atmosphere in Knoxville to get everybody hyped up for this big top 25 matchup between the Vols and the Florida Gators. So, Brian, let's talk about exactly how the game went down and how the Vols fared.
Well, both teams started a little slow. UT got up 3-0, then Florida was able to take a 7-3 lead. UT goes back up 10-7, and then Florida comes back, scores. Tennessee though makes really a monumental drive at the end of the first half to make the score 17-14, and then they received the second half kick and also scored on that. So that was giving them a 10-point lead. They later, were able to stop Florida and take a 17-point lead, making the score 38-17. However, after a Florida score and another Florida score, we had a game that was things were getting hairy in Knoxville at that point. They went for 2, didn't get it. We got a 38-33 game. Florida actually gets the onside kick. The guy that recovered it could have, he caught it and was running. Some guy just tripped him up on UT, one of the UT players, or he could have just, the thing was they couldn't advance the ball. I forget that. On an onside kick, you can't advance the ball. If you could, he would have been just about gone. But Luckily, Tennessee was able to stop them. Florida got one completion on that final drive, and then had a drop. Then at that point, they had about 10 seconds left. They just had to go 17 seconds to be exact. Just go for two Hail Marys. That was all they had time for. So it was intense, but UT was able to come away with the first win against Florida since the 2016 year that you talked about, and also it was only their second win over Florida since 2004. So really good to get the monkey off their back, the Florida monkey, or we could say get the gator off their back.
Right, exactly. So UT, I mean, they're looking good. Bye week this week, but some pretty stout teams coming.
They need
coming
the bye
around.
week because this is a murderer's row of the next two games because while LSU is not your vintage LSU team, it's always hard to play at Baton Rouge, and I'm sure that's going to be a night game. Haven't seen yet, but then I expect Bama to be on October 15th to be the 3:30 Eastern time. I'm so used to saying 2:30 on Central. The 3:30 CBS game, that's coming.
Yeah, especially if Tennessee does beat LSU and stays a top 10 team. I mean, top 10 matchup, of course.
But Bama. I'm not trying to jump ahead or anything, but Bama has some business to take care of before that too. Some tough business with Arkansas and then Texas A&M. They have to go to Arkansas when A&M comes in after what happened last year. But it really that third Saturday in October. I'm not trying to jump the gun, but it will be great to see both teams undefeated. So it will be just like one of those epic 90s matchups that they had.
Yeah, it definitely could set up to be another classic as the UT Alabama matchups have tended to be over the years.
We'll talk more about that game in a couple of weeks, but we'll just have to see if Tennessee can notch one more win and go into that game undefeated.
That's right. Well, it was an eventful Saturday like we've been talking about, but Friday night was a big day for high school. We had lots of great games out there. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at last week's top 10 where we were. That's Alcoa, Maryville, Gatlinburg, Pittman, Jefferson County, Sevier County, Morristown West, Seymour, Carter, Lakeway Christian, and Cosby. So now to introduce our Week 6 top 10. Take a look at our Week 6 top 10, still the same top 3, top 4, Maryville, Alcoa, Gatlinburg, Pittman, Seymour, and that's where it starts to change. But let's go ahead and let's start to talk about Maryville and Alcoa and why we have those and how their games went.
So Alcoa came out strong and held a 14-7 halftime lead. Cut to late in the third quarter, after the game's tied at 14, Alcoa goes up 20-14. Kick goes off the upright. So that would be a deciding factor later in the game as teams started going for two, etc. So with the score 20-14, West, they got a pick six. It looked like Alcoa might come down the field and gain control. They were around the 50-yard line, and then the pick six happens. Run all the way back, 21-20 lead West. And then on a later Alcoa possession, it seemed that West was really giving Alcoa some trouble with moving the ball. So what does Alcoa do? They come out with a gimmick play. Quarterback Zach Lunsford throws to Elijah Cannon in the flat. So before anyone knows what's going on, Cannon made a perfect pitch to the superstar of the last game, the Maryville game, Jordan Harris. Jordan Harris runs it, it's finally tackled about the 2-yard line, and that's where Zach Lunsford plunges into the end zone standing up for a touchdown to give Alcoa a 26-21 advantage. So it looks like Alcoa had come through again. Every time they play these tough teams, it seems like a lot of times they'll come out on top. But, West was able to hit a strike down the sideline. Then goes into the end zone. Now they go for 2. So that makes it a 29-26 lead. And then, there were some key plays on Alcoa's final drive. Alcoa really, really had a shot to win this game. 4th down run by Jordan Harris, gives them new life. And then as Zach Lunsford runs to the sidelines, there was some may say questionable, but don't tell that to an Alcoa fan. Late hit out of bounds on 4th down, 4th and long. And that gives them new life. It was 3rd and long, excuse me, but they were going to have 4th and forever to go if he didn't get the call. So flags fly. Alcoa's down in the red zone then. So time's starting to run out now. Lunsford actually runs a draw and gets injured in the game, and that sets up this play right here where Eli Graff, the backup quarterback, a sophomore, they have no timeouts, so they have to put him in the game. And as you see, the ball is intercepted by the West defender, and that ends Alcoa's their hope for an undefeated season.
That's what I said, about that team is that they are a solid team. I can't show you one weakness on their team, all right? And I think we're a solid team, all right? And in the end, they made a few more plays than we made. And I think that's evident. That's all it comes down to. They made a few more plays than we did. And, we've got to do a better job of coaching. I've got to put, twice we put number 2 is an unbelievable player. We put our guys in man coverage on him, put our guys in difficult situations. You're not going to beat many good teams turning the ball over 3 times. And really, for it to really come down to a 3-point difference after you turn the ball over 3 times, it shows otherwise we played some pretty solid football, but we've got to clean some stuff up offensively, defensively. Tailback ran super hard in the end. I thought he ran harder than we tackled at times, and that's coaching. But once again, when you play good teams, they're going to make plays, and they just made a few more plays than we did tonight.
Man, what a game. You could not ask, honestly, you couldn't ask for a better Thursday night game than that.
Until Friday night.
Right. But I said Thursday night.
I saw 2 good ones. But, we have no undefeateds now, so everything's just, we're going to see how the season plays out, but it's sure been fun so far, especially with our top 5, 6 teams.
Yeah, we've got 5 one-loss teams out of the 20 that we cover, so we've still got some great teams out there that have all dropped 1. So it's going to be an exciting close out to the season. But let's go ahead and let's talk about Gatlinburg-Pittman and what they did Friday night.
Yeah, Gatlinburg-Pittman, they took care of business, but it was not easy. Gatlinburg-Pittman was up 28-7, and they were up 21-0 at one point, and it's 21-7 at the half. Then with 28-7 lead, they had to hang on for dear life against Coosa Christian from Gadsden, Alabama, who did a double trip with no return. I remember we talked about that last week. They didn't do a home and home. Gatlinburg-Pittman says, no, you want to play us, you're coming here twice. We don't want to go to Gadsden.
I don't blame them.
So, yeah, but it was much. I called that game to be. I know I definitely didn't get my spread on that one, but I expected it to be more like last year. But like I said, I'm not covering AHSAA anymore, so I don't know much about these teams from Alabama. So, I mean, they got the win. It was a hard-fought win, but they did get the win.
Yeah, not quite the 42-point win that you were expecting, though.
What was it now?
42 points.
Oh, wow.
You were ambitious.
I underestimated the Conquerors, but they did not conquer anything in the end.
No, they maybe conquered the drive between Gadsden and Gatlinburg, but that was it.
That's a pretty drive, though. That's where it starts to get nice when you pass Gadsden and you're coming up here through Fort Payne.
Lookout Mountain.
But
yeah.
I'm sure they enjoyed the drive up, but probably not the drive back.
Probably not. Hey, we wanted to mention that Gatlinburg-Pittman does have a bye this coming week, but Coach Brad Wagner posted on Facebook over the weekend an update on the Mountain's new field house, GP getting a football field house. Just an update on it, their new weight room, their new locker room, coaches' offices, team film room, and lots of great things happening there as they continue to develop some new facilities up there.
Yeah, Gatlinburg's really been upgrading the facilities. They just got the new visitor side stands put in for the fall. They started working on those around spring break of last year, and it's a big upgrade. And you have to agree, that's the most beautiful view from any coach's office, right? Yeah. Kind of almost reminds you of the backdrop have you ever seen BYU Stadium out in Utah, all the mountains? Yeah. Like, man, that would be awesome to see a game there. That's kind of like how it is in Gatlinburg. It's an awesome view.
Yeah, they've got great facilities there. All right, Gatlinburg-Pittman, number 3 on this week's top 10. Number 4, Sevier County, and number 5, Jefferson County. So Jefferson County, we're on a bye, but what about Sevier County?
Sevier County, they remained in the 4th spot after demolishing William Blount 43-7, which we all expected. So they're in good position right now, even after that West loss from a couple weeks ago.
And Morristown West is up at number 6 this week. I guess they were at number 6 last week too, but they're coming off a win over Cocke County, who is also in our coverage area.
Yeah, Morristown West, they were able to get a win on homecoming, and that's always nice. We had a correspondent there at that game, and 48-12 is always a great win, especially on homecoming. And let's see what Coach Sanders has to say about that.
It's one of those things right now in one part of our offense that we're not happy with. Coaches not happy, players not happy. We all know we got to get better than that. We just got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot and just kind of put it all together day in and day out. And so to come out here tonight, to see the things that we worked on, it kind of was a point of emphasis to come out and be sharp and execute it. Really proud of it.
And in at number 7, it's Carter moving up one slot from last week. Carter coming in with a big victory over Carnes in last week's game of the week.
Yeah, that was a heck of a game. It's the only game that could have topped Thursday night's game. Carter came out and they really stuck it to Deshaun Bishop. They would not give him much room to run, and really their front 7 really attacked the ball. He had a couple great plays. One where he tried to reverse the entire field and almost got away, but they did. Carter was able to get him for a loss on that one. But you just knew that even though Carter, led by 10 later in the game, that he was going to get going. And he did, as he broke one all the way down the left sideline for a touchdown that made that a 3-point game. And later on, they've got the ball again and catch a big pass play down to the 10-yard line, and then Deshaun Bishop was able to score another touchdown there. And then, they're in business. Carnes has the lead, and then it's 35-31. And then they also have the ball and are on their way to score when Bishop, who's probably had 40 carries, he gets stripped out of the Wildcat, takes the ball, 4th down play, and he had the first down, but they stripped it, got the ball out. Carter was in business deep in their own territory. So then Carter starts driving down the field. Chandler Wilson finds Cash Austin in the corner of the end zone. Austin gets 1 foot down, and what do you know? There's only 0.7 seconds left. And then, they did get the extra point blocked, but there was a squib kick, and there was a long discussion, probably 5 minutes with the players and coaches after this, because I don't know how you feel about this, but the player touched the ball, was on the ground, could not get up and move. They ran no time off the clock. The coaches, especially on Carter's side, I'm sure
that Carnes wanted the 0.7 seconds, but they said at least a second should run off when anybody touches the ball, whether you're laying on the ground. So honestly, the best case scenario there probably would have been to pooch it up in the air, but you didn't want who to get a hold of it with the possibility to run it back. When Bishop gets that ball in his hands and one of the top players in the state, then it could be over for you. So they tried to go with the most conservative play, and it did end up working out because they did not get the heave, the prayer at the last second, and Carter wins the game. And just look at what a celebration it was. Is that jubilant Carter players and coaches run onto the field after the game.
So Carter now 3-3 on the season with this huge victory Friday night. So we're excited for them. And just to point out, you had picked Carnes to win by 10.5 points.
I did. But, one of the things is if you listen to this interview we're about to show with their head coach, Justin Presley, they regrouped and they had a team meeting, and he never believed that they were out when they had that loss to Gibbs and were 0-3. So let's go to Coach Presley right now to see his thoughts on the big win.
Well, we met with our senior group alone. We brought them in and we said, listen, guys, we can either let this thing crumble right now at 0-3, or we can do what we know we can do and step up and come back in the season. And our guys stepped up like never before. Like I was telling them earlier, our seniors played a big part in what's happened here. They've brought the team together. They took them on their back. They had senior-led meetings with the players. Our practice habits have increased. We've done a lot of things to get ourselves back on track off the back of the seniors, and we'll keep riding. They're doing a great job. There's a lot of confidence in this building right now.
Me and my senior buddies, we all just kind of got together and we were like, man, it can go two ways. It can go really south, or we can come together and rally the boys and turn it around, and I feel like that's what we've done.
Anderson County next week. How excited are you for that game?
They're tough, but I'm really excited. I mean, this team loves the challenge, obviously.
And following Carter, who is number 7 on our top 10 after that big win Friday night, it's Heritage at number 8. They're 3-3 on the season. They're rejoining the top 10 after falling off. Their last appearance was after week 4, and then they took a loss. But they've been doing well in the last couple of weeks, Brian.
Yeah, Heritage has won 3 of their last 4, and it is a good thing this wasn't on our pick'em last week, because I would have got this bad wrong. Had a little more faith than Seymour, but man, 55-0. They went down to Heritage and then just took a beating. This is a team you can tell is improving so drastically. So you can't expect an easy win out of Heritage anymore. Now you can with William Blount, but not Heritage, because Coach Joel Olsevit, he has got the ball rolling down there in the Townsend area.
And Heritage actually, well, I guess Carter's taken the spot of Seymour, who was number 7 last week. But after that loss, they've dropped out of the top 10.
They might not be back.
Maybe. I mean, that's a pretty tough loss.
They go.
Number 9.
They go to Greenville this week, so it could be worse than 55-0. I mean, that was Heritage. So they might not be back. We might, you'll be back in the rankings in girls basketball.
Yeah, we'll see them next season. All right, so number 9, it's Granger, who's now 3-3 on the season, and Lakeway Christian adding to our top 10 at 3-3.
Granger's just come in and out all year, don't they? Seems like I think they've won one, lost one all year. They keep hovering around that 9-10 spot. But Granger is improving on last year. Well, I don't know so much. They were 5-5 last year, but they also didn't win a region game last year, and they have already done that. So
that's an improvement.
Lakeway is just on a steady, slow slide. It's they're the last 3-3 team we had, so they're just hanging on by a thread. But they have another tough one this coming up week. So I don't know if it'll be I don't know if they can hang on another week. What do you think, Daniel?
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, they've had a great start to their season, so we'll just see what they can do to close out the second half of the season.
Yeah, we're entering the second half of the season right now because everybody gets a bye week. Most teams haven't had their bye week yet, so there is 5 weeks left.
Yeah, and Lakeway's a good up and coming team, so they still have a bright.
We should be giving midterm grades.
We should. All right, well, let's go ahead and let's preview now that we've talked a little bit about what's upcoming. Let's preview those Week 7 games. We're going to start with 5-1 Alcoa, who is taking on Cookeville, who is currently 2-4. That's on Thursday night.
Yeah, this will be a good game for Alcoa because last year they really blew the doors off Cookeville. I don't expect anything different this year. They just took a 58-29 loss to Gallatin.
Our next game, Maryville at Cleveland. They're traveling down south a little bit. Maryville 5-1 on the season. Cleveland 3-3. What's going to happen there?
Yeah, this was a tougher game last year. Cleveland came in, I think, with 1 loss to Maryville. They still handle business. Now that Maryville, after a big win over Science Hill, with a big win over Science Hill, they are now in pole position in our number 1 spot. We didn't talk about this, but I do believe, even though Alcoa has the head-to-head, that when you lose, you fall back at least 1 spot, especially to a team as good as Maryville. If there's no Maryville, they probably stay at number 1 if it's Sevier and Gatlinburg-Pittman and all the others because of how bad, they beat GP. GP cannot go in front of them. That was a very close game at Maryville. But we'll see. Hey, they have West on the road in a few weeks. So this all might shake down and Alcoa might go back up top. But I think that Maryville will take care of business on the road at Cleveland. I do.
All right, next we've got Carter hosting Anderson County. Carter, that big win over Carnes, do you think that they're going to do anything against 6-0 Anderson County, who's also
Anderson
coming
County
off a tight
is one
win?
of the top teams this year in 4A with the Greenville. And they had to come back to win this game. It went to double overtime, actually. And they were down 21-7, like in the 4th. And they scored. They tied the game. They went to overtime 21-21. So Anderson County is very lucky to still be undefeated. Now, this is an Elizabethton team with 4 losses. They're usually a contender. Just lost a little bit too much from last year's team that went to the final. Now, Carter is riding a big wave of momentum. However, I think that it's probably going to be a setback this week. But we'll talk about the predictions later. I just think that Anderson County is the standard in 4A. Very good team last year, played a very tough schedule, and they got a lot of players back. So this is going to be a very tough game for Carter, even if it's at home. But don't count them out because I definitely thought they would get beat by Carnes last week. Anything can happen.
You did. That's right. So our next game, we're talking about Morristown West hosting Tennessee, not the Vols, but Tennessee High. So what are you thinking out of this one?
Well, we're going to have Tennessee High coming down from Bristol, and they have they play 2 teams in Virginia. Obviously, they're in Bristol. So they're coming off a 34-14 win over Abington, Virginia. And Morristown West is coming off a big win over Cocke County. So this is going to be one of the better games because it's really going to decide pole position in that region. Morristown West drops to a 3rd game and 2nd region game. Daniel Boone is already out there ahead of the pack, undefeated. And now Tennessee gets pole position. Morristown West all of a sudden looking very strong early. They may be out a home playoff game if they drop to that 3rd seed.
So it's going to be tough, but this is a very important game for Morristown West.
Finally, our game of the week, Jefferson County coming off of bye. They are 4-1 on the season, hosting Dobbins-Bennett, 5-1 on the season. They both have 2 wins in the region, so easily to see why this is our game of the week.
Yeah,
Brian.
this is going to decide first place right now in the region, the 6A region. I said before the year, I thought in the preview, I thought Jefferson County was going to have a good opportunity to win this region. Now, they beat Dobbins-Bennett last year, and this is something that doesn't happen a whole lot. Surprised some people last year. It will really surprise some people this year because Dobbins-Bennett just lost their first game, and that was a 1-point 21-20 loss to Greenville. So, what we were talking about earlier the other week when Morristown West, oh, wow, they stayed within 7 points of Greenville. Granted, Greenville is not quite as good as they are last year. They're still great. But, Dobbins-Bennett could very well be undefeated, and they were not this good last year. I think they came into this game 4-2 a year ago. It's going to be interesting to see how Jefferson County handles this, but they do get it at home, and they have had a bye week to prepare. So hopefully they will come out strong on Friday night.
Now, before we get our predictions, let's go ahead and preview our other 3 college games that are going to happen in the week ahead. Again, UT, they are on a bye, so it's Tusculum, Carson-Newman, and Maryville College. Starting with Tusculum, they are at Barton College, coming off a win over Catawba.
Yeah, Tusculum of our colleges outside of Tennessee, Tusculum is looking the best of these Division II and below schools because, just to go to Catawba and get a win like that, now, they have Barton College coming in that's coming off a loss to Mars Hill. They're 2-2. This is a good opportunity for Tusculum to get another good win under their belt before that big showdown with Carson-Newman on October 8th.
And speaking of Carson-Newman, they've got a tough game at home this week. They're hosting Newberry, who's 4-0 on the season.
Yeah, it appears that both of these programs are kind of trending in the opposite direction. Newberry is going to be very tough. They just had a 32-14 win over Erskine. They're undefeated, obviously. And so Carson-Newman, they lost 34-13 to Lenore-Ryan, and they have not won since that, game earlier in the year that we covered. And so they've lost to Limestone now and Lenore-Ryan 2 games in a row. So will they be able to upset Newberry? I don't know. It's going to be tough. But it is at home, so we'll see how they handle it.
Maryville College also playing at home this week. They are hosting the Huntington Hawks from Montgomery, Alabama, where I used to live. I actually have friends that played on the Huntington team. So Huntington's 3-1, Maryville's 1-3. You think they're going to have any luck against the Hawks?
This is a big rivalry game. This obviously is a conference game in the USA South Atlantic. Huntington comes in at 3-1, but both teams, as bad as Maryville has played in the earlier games, they did get their first conference win over Greensboro. So really, as far as the conference shakedown goes, everything's wide open. So Huntington's coming off a 34-21 win over Belhaven, but this should be a fun game at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and I plan to be there to cover this matchup. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully it don't rain on me this time.
Yeah, just make sure you don't wear that shirt because that's Huntington Hawk colors. All right, Brian, let's get our weekly advantage. That's where you decide who you think is going to come out on top in our key games of the week. We're going to start Alcoa at Cookeville Thursday night.
Alcoa at Cookeville. I expect Cookeville 6A, but
I don't think it's I don't think it's going to make a big difference. I think Alcoa, I think, comes out mad. I think they come out with a lot of motivation. Want to wash that loss out of their mouth. I'll say Cookeville plus 27.5.
Wow.
Alcoa's
Okay.
fixing to go into
All right.
Alcoa mode the rest of the season.
Gotcha. Now, Maryville 5-1 at Cleveland 3-3.
I like Maryville to win comfortably. I expect this to be kind of like the Science Hill and Bearden game, the two games that they have played since losing to Alcoa. I'd say something like a 42-7 win. So I'll give Maryville. I'm not going to give them that many points though. Just I'll give them 25. I think Maryville will go on the road and win by 25.
All right. Carter coming off that big win at versus Carnes, taking on Anderson County. How lopsided do you think this one's going to be?
Oh, man. Anderson County's both teams are probably really expended from what they had to go through to pull out the wins from the week before. I do like Anderson County. I mean, it's just, of course, I'll be pulling for Carter because they're in our coverage area. But just me being unbiased, I think Anderson County should be favored probably by 17. So we'll go 17. Take Carter plus 17.
Okay. Morristown West taking on Tennessee.
Woo. Morristown West really needs this win. I think it's going to be tough. I mean, their two losses are two unbeaten. So let's not act like the Morristown West lost 2 games and they're not worth a crap now. So they lost very tough games. Daniel Boone is 5-0 and Greenville 6-0. So I'd say that's pretty good if you're going to take 2 losses. I like Morristown West. I'll take them by 6.5. So I'll give them minus 6.5 against Tennessee. But this will be a very tough game. I don't think this will be one where they can just cruise.
Yeah, that'd be a great home win for Morristown West. Our game of the week, Jefferson County versus Dobbins-Bennett. Again, Jefferson County coming off a bye. So do you think they're going to be ready to take on 5-1 Dobbins-Bennett?
I think they'll be ready, but I mean, it's just since the Sevier game, we have to ask ourselves how many tough tests has Jefferson County had. Now, that Halls game where they won by a touchdown, that shouldn't have been that close, especially with Halls being 4A. Man, I'm going to have to take Dobbins-Bennett. I'm going to take Jefferson County minus 20.5. I think Dobbins-Bennett is for real this year, and they will have that in the backs of their minds that Jefferson County went up there last year and beat them at home, something that doesn't happen very often.
All right, sounds good. We'll be interested to see how our game of the week turns out. Now for our final thoughts and a look at the other games coming up in the week ahead.
Yeah, this I know that with the week 7 pick'em, I gave you a lot of big spreads just outside of that Tennessee at Morristown West game, and really it's not a ton of prime matchups this week, but that doesn't mean there's not some very intriguing matchups. You have a local county matchup with Pigeon Forge and Northview that are going to be playing against one another. Northview's coming off a loss to Oneida. Pigeon Forge is coming off a big win over Scott. But check this out. Pigeon Forge is still in playoff position, even being 2-4. They can get that 3 seed. The 3 seed's kind of wide open behind Alcoa and Gatlinburg with Austin East and Pigeon Forge are tied for 3rd right now. And those look to be the 2 teams that are going to get those last 2 spots at the moment. Northview could have something to say about that this week, though, and it's at their place. Um, like we said, Gatlinburg-Pittman has an open before that big matchup with 2A number 1 Hampton. Fulton, that should be a fun one. They don't have a very good record, but they played some very tough teams. They're going to South Doyle. They have an amazing quarterback. If you've seen any of his highlights, they're just phenomenal. He's been all over, Twitter with some of his highlights. They did take a 43-19 loss to Bearden. South Doyle's coming off a 58-14 loss to Farragut. So this is probably going to be, believe it or not, both these teams, Fulton's 1-1 and Farragut's 1-0. So, not Fulton's 1-1 and South Doyle is 1-0. So, South Doyle's still got everything in front of them, but Fulton will be a tough game. Sevier County, they are at Knox Halls, playing a 1-5 team who's coming off a 33-3 loss to Powell. This should be another win for Sevier County as they keep rolling down towards what could be a 9-1 record after that West loss. Knox Central will be at Cocke County. This is a game where you got a 3-3 Central against a 2-4 Cocke County team, and Cocke County seems to be rolling in the wrong direction at the wrong time after that bad loss to Morristown West. Seymour at Greenville, we all know what's going to happen there. Morristown East is coming off a bye, and they will be at Science Hill, who is 3-3 and 2-0 in that region. Science Hill is coming off that Maryville loss, so this will be a very tough game for Morristown East, and I don't expect that one to go their way either. William Blount, winless, are they our only winless team still? Yeah.
They are.
They're at West Ridge, who's 2-3, so West Ridge is not winless, so they will probably win that game. Heritage, 3-3, is at West, so we know that their big wave of confidence is probably going to take a shot because West is the real deal. I don't expect them to lose. I expect them, if they can get past Maryville, to go 15-0. But that Maryville game will decide it. And I can't wait for that one. That's definitely probably going to be one of our games of the week. So North Green is at Cosby. This is another good opportunity for Cosby to get a win, as North Green's only win was a 32-28 win over Jellicoe, who Cosby has beaten. So Cosby might come knocking at the door of the top 10 again come next week. Lakeway Christian is trying to avoid sliding further out of the top 10 when they go to Monterey, who's coming off a 28-13 win over, I've never heard of this team, must be in the privates, the Tennessee Heat. Is it the Miami Heat?
No, we're bringing the Heat to Tennessee now.
Heat at Mount Juliet Christian Academy. This is obviously a non-region game, but Monterey, it's not going to be an easy task, it doesn't look like. Then we have the Kings Academy, and this is the last thing I want to mention. Something very odd happened with the Kings Academy last week because we thought they were going to be playing Swain in North Carolina, and then I found out after the game they did not play. So I texted my friend that from the Mountain Press that covers them, and I was like, did they not play? Because I thought about going by there, but I went to the Carter game the whole time, and I'm glad I did. Because I would have probably saw an empty stadium. And I saw on Coach T, we're still trying to verify this, but it looks like TKA picked up a game. I'm seeing a 36-28 win over Eagleton, who only has a junior varsity team right now. They can't compete in AHSAA, was what the coach told me before the season.
TSSAA.
What did I say?
AHSAA.
Too many years of doing Alabama sports. Yeah, the TSSAA. So AHSAA just rolls off the tongue after 7-8 years of doing it there.
I know.
So the TSSAA will not allow them to compete with a varsity schedule because they do not have juniors and seniors yet. So we're still trying to verify what went on with that. I take it that it was just a last-second scrimmage game they put together, because I have not seen it on anyone's schedule, and that was confirmed by another person that works in that area as well. So we're just going to take it as if they did not play.
Yeah.
But anyways, that clears up the confusion with us actually picking that game last week, because when we did the podcast on Monday, I didn't know that they didn't have a game scheduled. Supposedly it was scheduled before the season, but Swain bought it out to play another North Carolina team. That's what I've heard. But we'll get some verification on that from TKA.
Well, that's all good. Speaking of stuff like that, if you know of any updates or final scores that you see throughout the week, go ahead and give us a text. The number is 865-268-9088. That's 865-268-9088. And, of course, you can always check us out, SmokyMountainSports.com, SmokyMTNSports.com. Brian, a great week that we've had this past week with some really awesome games. I suspect that we're going to have some more great stuff to talk about next week.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what happens with these games. I say we don't have a ton of primetime matchups, but it's never a down week with Smoky Mountain Sports.
Absolutely not. We're in region play, so every game matters these days. All right. Thanks so much for joining us here on Smoky Mountain Sports. We'll see you back here next week. Have a good one.